talk about announcement first.
Where do I take notes? Oh, that is an excellent question. I think log into Gmail.
Look at the notes.
Go into Gmail and log in.
It's F500. Go to F500.
Oh, it's in the Encores.
Yes.
Oh my God. Oh.
So the first thing is I want to thank you, Megan, for helping us update the resources. She and Shuya have been checking the resources and updating new job aids to our W200 website. So thank you. And then let's talk about week 8. Is there anything that you want to talk? AIs?
I think this might have only been a one-time thing, but please don't send ULAs to ask for passwords for the iPads. Really, the only people. Yeah,
Sorry.
really the only. I'm just saying it so everybody knows too. The only people who should have the passwords for anything is the AIs. The ULAs shouldn't have the passwords, and the students shouldn't have the passwords. Shuya and I spent a lot of time this week after it came to our attention that with the TTL email logged into all the iPads, they could get to the Google Doc that had the passwords list. And we spent a while trying to figure out how to get it so that they couldn't
You
get
mean
to
the
that.
Password for what? For
account? Or for downloading things.
Google document that Peter put together last semester that has login information for like all of our accounts.
And with the Gmail logged into the iPads, they could get to it. So we had to figure out if we could delete the Gmail without messing up the iCloud account, and we could. So we went through and fixed that on all the iPads. So just to make sure that, just in case, we want to make sure no students get the passwords. I don't want it to go to like any of the ULAs or anything either. So if they need you to update an app or put in a password, I would rather you guys do it if that's okay, because that way we can make sure that something like this, the American slang app, doesn't happen again. Better that way. If nobody knows
the
what
American slang app?
that was, the one that was screaming cuss words at people and racial epithets and other things.
Okay. That's very important.
So just another note for all the other ULAs about responding to feedback. Be very conservative in the way you respond to feedback. So I gave my students a lot more work time working on their projects, and it worked fine for the one class where my students are a bit more invested and engaged. But in my second class, I had like 3 or 4 people, because I gave them a lot of work time. They just left. So, like, if you're making changes based on feedback, be really conservative in the way you do that. 'Cause it's like, yes, you want to give your students what you want, but if you give them what they want, then that doesn't necessarily solve problems.
Yeah.
So, and we had,
and they
other
should
folks
not
mention the same thing about like changing deadlines, to accommodate what they want. Just want to throw out there, it's not a good idea to just give students exactly what they want.
I agree.
So,
Jenna?
So what I did to that, because I figured out that some of my students, if I end the class earlier, they just pack everything like 5 minutes earlier. But they wouldn't just go away, but they would just pack everything and then waiting.
just sit there.
Yeah. But I told them I want to give you more time to work, but if you don't want to work, I would just talk more and then you'll have less time. So they kind of realized like my where's the line? They cannot just cross the line and then just do whatever they want. So you can just give them some options. So if you want to have more time, you really need to work on your stuff. Otherwise, I'll just take out your time and then do whatever I want. So I think they're pretty clear about this, and then they're satisfied with like negotiating with me. Is that kind of stuff.
And you can encourage students to do class prep. If they have extra time, they finish everything, then you can ask them to do class prep.
Yeah, though I don't know though. I think I want them to do the class prep like the day before class. Or 2
You
days
cannot
before.
control when they do it.
You don't know when they usually do the class.
Yeah. So
They usually do it the day or two before. Usually like
It's a
turned
chinchilla.
in like at 7:59 right before it's due.
Really?
Yeah.
Amid's a
It's
chinchilla.
like one
It says
student
anonymous
does it.
chinchilla when he
Only I
types.
have like those students who are
Curtis.
Oh, that's funny.
I know who the names are, and then I have those.
Sorry, that was.
See, I probably
Nice.
happens at the last minute.
Oh, I'm me.
Now you're checking this yourself.
all right.
Yeah.
Hami, you did the evaluation this week,
I did.
and have you looked at it?
I had some trouble getting the result. Like evaluation, and Janet observed me. Like for some reason, the link was working for some student, and the others couldn't access it. So we had to log them out and log back again, and then it worked for most of them. Still 3 or 4 couldn't like access it, so they had to like take it from another computer where their peers logged in. So I try to see the responses, and it's not giving me any access. So I want to show one of you, maybe see if you guys can help me to retrieve it, because
Okay.
I tried last night and I couldn't.
Sure. We'll figure out later. Okay, anything about week 8?
Something that you guys might consider, just to reinforce the use of poll everywhere. I wish I would have done it in my Monday class, but I used the clickers and showed them how the clickers work and everything. But I got the bright idea afterwards and I did it in my Wednesday class, where I had them do the activities with the smartboard and the clickers, but the last question, I had them do it in poll everywhere, to remind them of the tool that they used before, and to also show them that there are different ways to achieve the same goal. So I found that to be kind of interesting.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
I did a similar thing where, so I had them come in and do the smartboard thing, and then for the next question we did poll everywhere, and then I did 2 questions for poll everywhere, and then for the last one I said, because it was like a yes, no, maybe, I'm like, raise your hands. So just like to demonstrate there's different strengths and weaknesses to each of those review methods.
Good. I think you can kind of review this in next week as well, because it's about assessment, so you can use those as examples. Okay.
One last thing. If anybody from week 9, I think it was the class prep for this that was up this week, if they say, it didn't let me answer question 4, it's because there was no question 4 on the form, but it was still showing up in this spreadsheet. So when I set up the email response, it was showing up in the email. There's no question 4, so if anybody freaks out about that.
It used to have question 4,
Yeah.
but I combined that with question 3.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But since it was still on the spreadsheet, because it just copied the responses, so it copied everything the same,
Right.
it was in the email response. And
Yeah.
they were like, I didn't see a question 4, and it was,
Yeah.
I think it was Janet's student. And there's no question 4, it's okay, so if anybody freaks out about that, they're fine. I fixed it since then, so it shouldn't show up now.
Yeah.
Or rather, Shuya fixed it when we figured out what the problem was.
Okay, so if we don't have any comments for week 8, we can move for week.
Did everybody have cell students come in?
Yeah.
Did the cell students seem prepared and able to answer questions and no issues? Because they're getting extra credit points, so I want to make sure that they actually deserve those extra credit points. So were there any issues in anybody's sections? No.
The one who went to my class.
Which one? The
Danielle.
Tuesday? Danielle?
Yeah.
Yeah, you
So she didn't know where to go
Okay.
or how to get the PowerPoint. So when she was presenting, that was her first time looking at the PowerPoint.
Lovely.
So
For my class, I think her name was, I want to say
Emma?
Emma?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so she maybe wasn't prepared with the PowerPoint, but it ended up not mattering because she could really talk about it, and that was probably much better than walking through PowerPoint
Yeah.
or showing a movie.
Okay. Any other issues with some promotional stuff? No? Okay. That's good. That works.
And then, Megan, you are doing week 10 class prep. So are we doing the same thing? Like, kids will give us question, and then we will do that in the class? Because I
No,
remember
we
in
are
the
having
beginning-
them create the Google, because we're demoing Google Forms this week. So they're gonna see the demo, and then they will use that demo to create their own Google form as their class prep. So they are submitting the link to the Google form.
Okay.
And then the AIs we'll talk about it at the end, but we'll all aggregate that and maybe assign people different forms
Okay.
so that they can fill it out in class.
Okay.
And so you're not getting everybody answering everybody else, and it's not just one form with 50 questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's the instruction on the class prep now. Is that the updated one?
No.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. And I believe all of you got the email from Vicky. There is a event. As November 8th, there's a teacher. I think it's an award teacher. He's going to have a, I don't know what's that, a presentation. So do we want to do that as an extra credit to encourage students to attend?
I do, because of what it's about, because it's about, why be a teacher, and I've been telling this the whole semester that the strength of your reason for why you want to be a teacher is one of your greatest assets as a teacher.
Okay.
And it's like, for me, like answering that question well in an interview, that's gotten me jobs. So, especially since they did their digital story about that same topic, I said, let's go ahead and make it an event in your calendar. So we made it an event in their W200 or in their calendar for their website.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't say anything about extra credit, but just really encourage them to come. And so I think next week I'll say, hey, remember that event? Let's go look that event up in our calendars on the website. By the way, it's extra credit if you go.
So how many points that do you think we can give to students?
What do you want them to do? Just
Do you
attend
want
the
them,
event?
yeah, do you want them to write a reflection
Just want them to show up.
to show up?
Okay.
I feel like
Very
they can
impressed
show
by
up
showing
and
up.
write something and then add that to their teacher website about
Maybe
why they
add it
want to become a
their
teacher.
digital story description, because it's about the same topic. Why I want to be a teacher.
But what if some students did another topic?
Yeah.
There was only one topic this year.
No, that's true.
Two.
had a lot of them.
3.
One thing we could do is maybe say, okay, go attend Make a Prezi, because we took out the Make a Prezi from this year.
We demo it, but we
We demo it, but we don't tell them to make one.
Right.
So that's a tool that we don't have embedded on the website.
Mhm.
Maybe we say, go attend Make a Prezi about, like, put your reflection in presentation form. Maybe make it 10 points.
Any thoughts?
It replaces a class prep.
This is class prep for which one? Which class prep?
No, I mean if like somebody missed a class prep, it's equivalent to going
Oh,
spending
That's
Saturday
right.
morning and then creating a product is equivalent to a class prep, which is 10 points. I
Mhm.
think that's fair.
I wanna raise you 10 points, and I feel like 20 is more like that's what I would want to do, because they're going out of their way to do something that they wouldn't normally do, and it will take them more time than 2 class preps would.
But if you have students that just physically can't make that time slot due to class, work, or practice, you're negating that 10 points just simply because they can't
Mm.
physically make it.
But it's extra.
I would go.
I would
20 is too much.
I would go for 10 also
Yeah.
because they're supposed to be interested in expanding their teacher professional or what is it?
Professional development.
Thank you, professional development. They're supposed to be interested in expanding their professional development. This is something that can help with that. So by giving it extra points on top of it being something that they should be interested in doing already just is a little bit excessive. Maybe if you want to give points to people who go and don't do the Prezi, give like 1 or 2 points for going and attendance, and then the 10 points for actually doing the extra assignment on top of it.
Mhm.
Because maybe I go, but I don't get any good reflection out of it. I still would like something for taking the time out of my Saturday, but
Mhm. So let's do 10, and
Later they
then
put the Prezi in the teacher website or something.
you can put that on teacher website. Class
I'd probably put
material.
it in their e-portfolio, because it's about them, it's not about the teachers.
E-portfolio, which page?
Could do maybe the About Me page at the bottom.
Because it's about why I want to be a
Or it could go on their evidence page under
Ah.
professional development.
Mhm. Okay.
so should we add that to the website as like a little extra at the bottom?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So
that's
that
for week.
e-portfolio.
What week should we add that to?
Just put it.
That's-
November 8th. I don't know, 11 or 12. Check. That's
It's 11. It's week 11 because it's ACT week.
okay. All right. So let's make it 10, and we want them to post Prezi to e-portfolio about me page. Okay. That's moved for week 9. I couldn't access the week 9 PowerPoint here. Maybe you.
I didn't upload it because it wasn't the final version.
It's okay. 'Cause
It's
this,
in Drive.
this is a draft.
Okay,
And
I'll
then we
stick it
have
there.
a folder called final. But you can open that on Drive if you want.
It's in Drive right now. Do you want me to also put it on Course?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll put it in Course.
And then I also put the video that Brian and I made for this week to kind of walk you through all the stations, how to use those equipment, how to set up this station, something like that. So I would encourage you and you share this with your UOA so they get familiar with those stations.
It's linked on Course. It says week 9 stations walkthrough.
Okay. So Naja, you want to take over?
So this is going to be sort of a time-intensive, jam-packed week. There's a lot of things we're going to cover. And a good chunk of the class will be devoted to time at the stations. But some of the stations will only take the students 20 minutes, like the art stations. Some of the stations, like the science stations, will take them more than the 50 minutes, depends on if there's hiccups and glitches. So, you know, think about activities, maybe have students go back and review their teacher website or About Me pages if you don't want them to do the class prep, or look at class prep, or go work on their case artifacts or something. Have backups in your mind going into this week for the students that are done super early, because it does happen. Also, you'll notice a lot of hidden slides. There's extra tidbits of information that I've taken out for time's sake, but also for some of the activities with data collecting are more geared towards secondary students. So if you have a lot of early elementary and elementary ed, then I wouldn't even cover some of these aspects as well in depth. So this is sort of the time breakdown. I left the times up there to help as a guide, but you can feel free to remove or adjust. I recommend adding another 5 minutes into the ebook project and taking out 5 minutes from the workshop, or sorry, the tip. But again, that's up to you and how many questions your students get. So I'd recommend starting the class off by just going over the case analysis and case artifacts, refreshing where, when stuff is due, how it's due, go over the expectations for case artifacts, the number of artifacts, examples of artifacts. Point to the students in the direction of the examples we have linked on the teacher website and the ePortfolio under the assignments tab on the W200 page. So if they're kind of concerned about, well, what do I have to make and what does it look like, point them in that direction. And then like how to embed it, how to post it, maybe go over that in brief. One thing the ULAs, a majority of ULAs brought to my attention over this week is that a lot of the students are not making their stuff public. Box is not public, Google Drive documents aren't public, and it's like an extra hassle for all of you. So really emphasize making all of your files public, whatever platform that's being hosted on. Okay, the ebook. This is the week we introduced the ebook project. Make sure you look over the rubric and know the expectations, but also look at some of the examples that the students have done in the past. So One thing that I've done is I've gone to the library and I've gotten books for all of my students, like pop-up books and interactive books. Some of them that you can open up, flip pages, or pull out stuff about trains. And my students have found that was really helpful. Not necessarily content-wise, but just how information is presented. You can also take them down to the library and have them find a picture book. That works too. Again, that's totally your discretion. Another way to do it is to bring in some of the iPads. The iPads have iBooks loaded on there and ebooks within those folders, and a lot of those are past student examples. And I really recommend showing the student examples as opposed to like the Da Vinci book that we have linked on the website, because that just shows the students what their peers have done. Okay. So we've added this slide just for more information, but I would really have your students explore first and then answer questions as needed, because I'm sure they'll have a lot. Alright. So how can they make the book? In the past, I've had students try all sorts of stuff. The best recommendation I could offer is stick to iBooks. Doesn't matter how proficient you are in every other software. I would not let them use some sort of PDF creator and no PowerPoint. You don't get the same level of interaction. You don't get to embed the widgets. So we have a couple of Macs in here. You can encourage students to bring in their personal computers. We also have Macs in the other lab, and I've literally just sort of commandeered the lab. I've gone in and put, computer does not work on all of them, and then let my students come in to do these. So you can facilitate access to that technology in later weeks. So reassure your students that we have plenty of space and that they do have to use an Apple product. So we'll learn. Okay. If you haven't played around with iBooks Author, please do so. Try. Even if for this week you don't have time, just watch a video on sort of how to embed different objects. It would be great if you could demo a couple of the books and the interactive features. So these are just the interactive features that you can build in. So you can build in quizzes or puzzle games. You can build in like little words that pop up if you click on them, or sounds. If you click on the sound icon, it'll read different parts to you. So it's generally pretty good of a project. We haven't had too much issue, but it's really stress loaded at the front because a lot of students are apprehensive about it. One thing I've discovered from doing this project is you have to set many deadlines, because unlike the digital story, this is sort of a everything is due at the end project. So in the past, I've had my students say, okay, the outline for your book is due on this date. You have to have content for all your pages by this date. And by breaking that up and micromanaging a little bit, it doesn't allow them to procrastinate at the end, because they'll discover that when they're trying to put all the book content together, it's time intensive. So get them to aggregate all the information and text and pictures and videos and everything, and then put it into the book and format. Don't have them work within the book itself. Any questions about the ebook part?
And they can work with one people, so it's maximum 2 people.
So it's 10 pages per group person, 10 pages of content. Front, back cover, plus author page, those are extra. Directions pages are extra, resource pages are extra, 10 pages is content. So if, for example, you have 2 students working together, it goes 20 pages of content plus all the extra additives. It's totally up to you guys if you want to assign them partners or let them find their own. It's worked. I've done both. It's worked well. But any other questions about the ebooks?
So if they have a partner, they have to come up with 20 pages
Yes.
or 10 pages?
20 pages.
It's not so hard.
So we've had students that, I had a group of 3 last semester, it just worked out that way. They did a picture book about counting, and it was super easy for them to just come up with 30 pages. Like, they had a crab that followed along all the dolphins and the turtles and helped students count. And so we have those examples for students readily. For students that are doing, history book on the Constitution, they can easily rewrite content from Wikipedia or other open Creative Commons license places and adapt that, and then they just cite it at the end. I got this from this site. So it's not that they are writing the material themselves, they can adapt material from other books and workshops. Anything else? Ebooks? No? Questions? Okay. So then we move into sort of the lecture part of this week, which is about data collection and analysis, and it's trying to encourage the students to integrate real-world contexts through sort of real-world data collection and then analysis. And so there is a mini lecture. I won't go into detail about it. We have a couple of examples. The basketball player one is pretty good, but it's geared toward secondary students, middle school onward. So do look over the videos, make sure that it aligns with the demographics of your students. There's examples I've hidden this slide, but if you feel like you need more examples to talk about, like you can't think of an English language arts example for data analysis, that we have some of those in here. And if you need more for like a specific subject, do let me know.
And this is a slide that you can incorporate students' class prep. There's a question asking about their experience.
Mm-hmm. So some of the tools that we talk about, if you haven't checked these out, are Google Spreadsheets and Google Forms, Inspire Data, Excel, visualization tools, and Tuxedo and Wordle. So you can maybe spend a minute, have the students explore or find another one. And then I did take off Tinkerplots. So one thing that we demo, and this is generally a ULA demo, is Tuxedo and word clouds. And we pitch it as a data analysis tool. So you analyze the trends, themes prevalent within a Word document, essentially. So you could take, for example, the US Constitution and analyze all the words, and then these are the words that come out the most prominent. So the difference between Tuxedo and Wordle is Tuxedo allows you to come up with any shape. Wordle is very basic, it works across all platforms, it doesn't generally glitch with plugins or anything like that. Tuxedo's depends if you have Java updated and applets and all
Wordle
that.
has issues with math though.
Does it really?
Yeah, I tried to do a Wordle yesterday.
You have to have Java updated and allow it to run, and that's sometimes if it doesn't pop up, that's the only issue. But I would recommend for you guys to just maybe show these in brief. For example, where to go? This is Macbeth, the first couple pages of Macbeth from Shakespeare. I would encourage you to have your students take the text from their About Me page and throw it in here. And then they get a little word cloud, and they could put that into their About Me page if they wanted. So you can turn this into a mini data analysis activity that sort of represents themselves, but also gives them extra stuff for their website. In the past, we've kept this activity using Inspire Data. It really is geared toward like 6th grade onward. So again, if you have a class that has a lot of early elementary ed and tall and elementary, I wouldn't recommend it. I would just have them watch the video and then maybe write like a small reflection under their Symbaloo as to why this is a great resource, or under their tech resource page. All right. So then we move on to data collection tasks. As an example, in the past, what I've done is I've brought in different measurement tools. So I've brought in like a yardstick, a ruler, a piece of string, a pen, a marker, and I've had them measure the height of a chair. So I broke them up into groups, and I've had to measure the height of a chair using different metrics. And then we had a conversation about, okay, which one was more accurate and which one wasn't, why or why not. And it seems sort of silly, but it really had the students think about what you can use to measure and what are appropriate tools to measure. And it was very quick. It took like all of like 5 minutes. So if you feel like you've got time, that's something you can do. So we talk about where do you get data. You get data from real world data, from surveying, from measuring, from quoting, from pulling information. And then we talk about different kinds of tools. So we talk about sensors as well as just data gathering information. So you can bring in what you did last week with the clicker responses or poll everywhere. And then have your ULAs demo one of the sensors. And we recommend doing the GoMotion sensor because it's sort of a quick plugin. And you can hold it up in this L shape and literally wave your hand under it and it'll pick up a spike. So it's not intensive, it's fairly easy and quick. But if you don't want to do that, we have the light sensor as well. So the same way, if you cover the light sensor with your hand, it will decrease and then you remove it and it'll spike up again.
What's the purpose of the Go motor?
Just to show them that we have sensors that the students can collect data with, and these are often in high school settings.
So I meant like how are you using what kind of motion?
It measures speed, acceleration, velocity, and direction.
As it's moving? I'm just trying to see.
No, it's a stationary item,
Yeah.
and then it just calculates. It's just like it's the same thing that speed guns are used to clock how fast you're driving by the
Right.
police. So it's just saying, okay, well, if we wanted to measure how fast an object is moving down a track, which is one of the stations, they'd be using a technology like this.
Okay.
Yeah. Another ULA demo, and this one you do have to get your ULAs to do because it's relevant to week 10, is the Google form. So this needs to be a complete demo where they show how to create a Google form, how to add questions, that add in different types of questions. So I would have them demo the paragraph text, the regular text, the multiple choice and fill in the blank kinds of things. I wouldn't necessarily have them create a grid or do the picture matching, none of that, but just do the simple text versions. What the students are going to do in week 10 is that they're going to create questions relevant to their content, their grade and subject, and then they're going to make a Google form. So I'd have the ULA demo the steps for doing that, and then demo how do you share and make it public, and what does that look like on the back end for data collecting. So maybe have one of your ULAs create it while the other one answers questions really quickly, and then the first ULA will show, well, these are what the answers look like. Have them show the summary of responses as well. So we'll be using those tools in the following week. Does that make sense? Okay. We do have a video. I wouldn't recommend showing the video in class. I think it's better if your ULAs watch the video and then can convey that information in person. All right, stations. So we talk about station-based or module-based learning and how it's sort of a self-guided process and how the students can really learn what they want to learn and focus and stress and emphasize what they want to emphasize. And that pushes us right into tip number 9. So this room will be set up with a bunch of different stations all around, and we'll have labels of where they're supposed to go. And then some of the stations, if they're using the iPads or they're just using websites and data collection, can stay in that room. So not everybody moves in here. For your sanity, please assign people stations before your class. Have an idea of maybe who's in what area and where. That way you can ensure that you don't have like 5 people all trying to do one thing. So all of the stations are listed under the W200 website. About almost at the bottom. So for example, if a student was assigned to social studies, station 9, they click on station 9 and it walks them through almost step by step how to do it. Everything ends in a Google document. They take whatever they're doing, whether it's pictures they're taking or information out of a chart. They take a screenshot of it, put it in a Google document, write up a couple of sentences, and then they have to embed that Google document as their tip 9.
So that's going to be tip 9.
Mm-hmm.
What happened to tip 8? Oh, tip 8 was it.
Okay, does that make sense?
We don't have tip 8.
We don't have tip 8. Yeah, I don't know why we have
We don't
that.
have 5 either. So.
We don't have 5.
It's
5 or
the
6
tip
in
number
Google.
corresponds to the week, not the number of tips you've done.
Okay.
Yeah. So, any questions about how the students have to submit it? No. Okay. It is really a self-guided process. The biggest issues we'll have are sort of technical glitches with maybe some of the sensors not working, or some of the websites, the students aren't going to the right places, but it generally goes fairly smooth. Again, the issue is make it public. Please tell your students to make their documents public, and it goes under student projects. So this teacher, their future teachers are modeling student work, as though they had done this experiment in their classroom, and this is a sample student product for their teacher website. Okay, so they have to have a description, even though they may have answered some of these questions through the reflection process. So the reflection process isn't in every single station. So if your students come and say, well, I already wrote the answer to this, tell them to rewrite it, rephrase it, and put it in the description as well. Okay. And the when, where, what's due. Any questions about week 9? Do I need to demo teach any parts of it?
No, but I wanted to know, like, for the case analysis artifact, that's week 10. What's the due date? Like, what week is the project due?
Ebook?
Ebook?
Yeah.
So, I think we had that week 14 last semester, but I don't know. That's up to you
I
guys.
have my students do that in the 15th, the last week.
Yeah.
So yeah, it got pushed back a week this semester because the original was on week 8 for the ebook.
But I would say maybe I added in this little bit of outline to maybe have that outline done by like next week, because realizing that your students will come in with not completed outlines and need peer feedback. So maybe have your students do this for next week and then have them revamp it, and that way your ULAs can also give feedback and maybe do like a peer activity for next week on that. But I would really structure it, because I think students get lost on this one. Are we good? Okay.
So, Namasha, the motion sensors, we get it from here, right?
Yeah, I will have everything out and ready on Monday.
Okay.
Monday morning it'll be out and ready. I'll have all the stations set up. There's a couple things I do want to warn you guys about the stations. Anyone have higher, like a high school math or science
Yeah.
students? Okay, how many of them are biology? No. How many of them are like physics or calculus? Okay. So there's the speed, position, and velocity one. That one we don't have a track for. So they are simply going to design a track and push the object themselves.
Oh, Katie told me that she put her son's car here. I don't know where.
Well, I actually put together a bunch of Legos so they can put the Legos together, and then they have to weigh it down. And so they are measuring how many rocks they put on the car and how that impacts speed too. So we can't do that with a toy car. Then there's another one called Under Pressure. I've gone in and I've changed the measurements, but last 2 semesters we've had issues where the cylinders we have couldn't contain the pressure, and it sort of exploded on students' faces. So if you have a student that got stuff all over their face and stuff, it's just vinegar and baking soda. Don't freak out. Just help them clean it up. And I swear they'll be fine.
Do we have in there a pre-test of the amounts of vinegar and baking
I have
soda?
gone in and I've reduced those
Okay.
to the same ratio, but I mean, I haven't tested them out in the exact cylinders we have, but it also depends if the previous person cleaned it out completely. So if the previous person didn't clean it out and has left in like a bunch of residue and substance, that's gonna change. Like they could leave in half a tablespoon of, baking soda and you're adding 1 to 1. So just, I mean, those are the 2 that to be wary of. The photo sensor one, we're going to set it up in the back booth and cover the back booth part of it to make it as dark as we possibly can. But if your students on that one are complaining that we can't get clear and distinguishable readings, tell them to do the best that they can and don't stress and don't penalize them for having charts that look the same. So it really is just the sciencey stations that have a couple issues. Any questions about the stations? No? Okay. For those that are teaching in the morning, first thing in the morning, the milk and other things that are perishable will be in the fridge in the, doctoral carol room now. So make sure you give yourself enough time to come in, grab the stuff out of the fridge, and bring it into the classroom, set it up in the classroom, and then go to your class. So it only applies to you if you're teaching in the morning. If you're teaching in the evening, please take all the equipment out of here and put it back in the classroom. This is just for the perishable stuff because we have milk. Okay? Yahweh, anything to add?
So after the class, they need to put the milk back, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Because it happened before, like, the milk becomes...
Oh,
Cheese.
so they need to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's the first person needs to come in and make sure there's enough time to bring in the items from the fridge, and we'll have it clearly distinguishable as your items. And then the last person teaching for the day needs to take the items and put them back in the fridge, and it'll be really clear what goes bad. So there's like vinegar, which doesn't need to be put away. Take the milk, take the juice, put it all over there. Okay. Maybe we should bring the mini fridge over here just for the week. The mini fridge in the doctoral carol room. What if we just brought it over here for the week?
Is that movable?
It's like this big.
You can.
Okay. Let me see if
That'd
that's
be easier.
a feasibility. That way you don't have to worry. I'm just worried about the 8 o'clock people because I was that person last semester.
There's a hole in the wall.
Mhm. Anything else? Otherwise, I'm sitting down.
You and I need to go.
Thank you, Naja.
Okay.
Any questions? I think you will have questions next week.
Yeah, I know.
So just make sure when you do the observation, just kind of walk around all the stations, look at what kids are doing, and then you will get more sense what they're actually
Why are you
doing.
teaching your class on Monday?